Alright, everyone, it's me again, Dash Island, for another episode of Dash's Call. Now, to alleviate some tension and whatnot, and celebrate the 10th episode of this podcast series, because a lot of other series I tried to do, I didn't really get past 10 episodes. I'm going to try and get off politics, whereas that's actually going to go into a spin off show where me and Spencer are going to do a series called Bring to the Table, which we will explain whenever we get to do the first episode of that. But as a little 10th episode special, I mean, like, a lot of people are like, oh, 10 episodes is not that special. Well, it's just a thing. It's the first season, 10 episodes. What the hell? Episode 15 is where things are going to get interesting. Because that's going to have 3 guests on the show. But, so I figured, as a little 10th episode thing, I will show my music collection, which I have 95 albums, which some people won't think that's much or not that great, but I'm kind of known in the group for like always talking about the CDs I get and whatnot because I'm really enthusiastic about music. So I'm going to go in order of like the pages in the book, and there are like 2 CDs I don't have in the collection, like in the actual book of all the CDs and whatnot, because one of them is in an actual book, and the other is an autographed album. And I'll get to that shortly. So first on the list is Shinedown's "Leave a Whisper," which I bought back in 2015. One of the first CDs to really get added to my collection, and it's an alright album. It's a good debut album for the band. They've definitely changed over time, but still one of the I put it in a mid rank. Then of course there's Shinedown's "Us and Them," which is probably my least favorite album, but it's still got some good stuff to it. Just not as great as the first, and doesn't really compare to all the other albums. Then there's Shinedown's "Sound of Madness," which everybody knows basically, and I don't really need to say it further. It's definitely one of my favorite albums, but it's not my top favorite Shinedown album. If it were, that would just be wrong in my opinion, because that would be living in the past. We're not. Plus, it's a little too mainstream. I'm kind of an anti-bandwagon. Next is Shinedown's "Amaryllis," which is also a pretty damn good album. I don't understand why it gets so much criticism. Then there's Shinedown's "Threat to Survival," which that's one of my favorite Shinedown. It's probably my second favorite. And I can get like some people are going to criticize it, but I love it myself. And then my top favorite Shinedown album, "Attention Attention," which was released last year back in May. And then another part of it, the part that's not in the collection, is the autographed version of "Threat to Survival," which I actually bought at a Shinedown concert in December of 2016. And it's like the only autographed CD I have, but not the only autographed thing ever I have. Moving on, I've got the Foo Fighters self-titled album, which I've yet to listen to it, but I know that there's definitely some good songs on there, like "This Is a Call," "I'll Stick Around." After, like I said, these are like more in order of album releases. Up next, there's Foo Fighters' "Color and Shape." Definitely a good album. Definitely got some heavy stuff if you like to get angsty, like "Monkey Wrench," "Wind Up." There's "Hey Johnny Park." So it it's definitely good. Then there's "Nothing Left to Lose," which is also a good album. A little bit softer, but definitely good. I mean, after all, it did win a lot of awards. It's got some great stuff on there, like "Generator," "Stacked Actors," "Break Up," no, "Break Out." I can't even speak. I'm trying to remember songs here because I don't have the cases with me. Just one big CD case. And then after that, there's Foo Fighters "One by One," which it's not the greatest Foo Fighters album, but it's in the mid ranks. It's like in the lower mid rank. It's got some good stuff on it, like "Times Like These," "All My Life," "Low." "Low" is a good song, but I can't get the image out of my head of Dave Grohl and Jack Black in that music video that is very scarring. Then there's my least favorite Foo Fighters album, which was In Your Honor, which it's got some good songs, I'll admit, but altogether it's tiring to have to listen to 2 CDs when you're trying to put in your criticism of an album or like put in your reviews. It's tiring, and there's only a few good songs out of like the 24 songs or something like that that's on there. It's a lot of songs. It's tiring. I'm not a big fan of it, but there were a couple good songs on the A side. Then there's Echo, Silence, Patience, and Grace, which a lot of people, it seems like there's not that many memorable songs to it, but it's got some great songs like Come Alive, Stranger Things Have Happened, Summer's End, Erase, Replace, Long Road to Ruin, The Pretender, Let It Die. It's got some great stuff. And of course, there's the Greatest Hits album from Foo Fighters, which we all know that Greatest Hits is just a compilation album. But there's some songs that aren't on other albums, like Wheels, which Wheels is definitely a good song. After that, there's Wasting Light by the Foo Fighters, which is my top favorite album. Of course, it's won Grammys, got great music, which my favorite song on that album is Rope. But all the songs are great in their own right. After that, there's the highly criticized Sonic Highways, Foo Fighters album, which could be considered a concept album. But it's great. Like, people don't bother to listen to it or just appreciate it. It's definitely a great album. And then finally, there's Concrete and Gold, which it definitely is a good album. It has some praise, but there are still people criticizing because people just love to live in the past. Going off of that, there's Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory, which I listened to that. Definitely some good stuff, even for your emo and angsty days. Linkin Park's Meteora, which I've yet to fully listen to, but of course there's the one song that we all love by Linkin Park, Numb. Then there's Minutes of Midnight, which it's got some good stuff to it, like What I've Done, Bleed It Out. That's like the 2 songs I can really call out of the album. There's 1,000 Suns, which I haven't gotten to listen to yet, but I remember Wretches and Kings because my best friend Lucas introduced me to that song, so it's good. Then there's Living Things, which that is a great album. I love it. Lost in the Echo, I'll Be Gone, In My Remains, Burn It Down. Great stuff. Then there's The Hunting Party, which got criticized, but I like the album. It's definitely got some good stuff. It's definitely different. And then finally, for Linkin Park, there's One More Light, which wasn't too big a fan of it, but it kind of did harken back to the days of Hybrid Theory if you choose to understand and appreciate Linkin Park's music. Sure, it's a different tone that's not exactly what everyone likes. It's still got some good stuff to it. Next band is Three Doors Down, The Better Life, their debut album, which has, of course, everybody's favorite Three Doors Down song, Kryptonite. Then there's Away from the Sun by Three Doors Down, which it's got some good stuff to it. The only thing that ticks me off is that there's a hidden bonus track at the end, which, why make a hidden bonus track? Just put them all on, so save us the time. Then there's 17 Days, which there's not a whole lot that you can say is memorable, but it's okay. The self-titled album was great, because I really love the song One More Time. No, not One More Time, but Not My Time. Blech. Then there's Time of My Life, which I wasn't too big a fan of, but it was okay. Us in the Night, probably my least favorite, but I haven't listened to it as much and whatnot. I listened to it once. Next band, Avenged Sevenfold, which first time I have from them is City of Evil, which I haven't got to listen to it, but I've heard songs off of it, like Backcountry, I think is the name of the song. Of course, Beast and Harlot, Seize the Day. Definitely got some good stuff on there. Then there's the self-titled album, which I love, which is how I got introduced to Avenged Sevenfold, because my brother had a copy of it. I really loved the song Afterlife. Then there's Hail to the King, which people just widely criticize, which it's a good song. Sure, it's a little bit mainstream, but it's got some good stuff. And then my favorite Avenged Sevenfold album is The Stage. People criticize it too much, but it's definitely a great album with a lot of artistic vision to it and very intelligent design to it, because it gets very scientific and whatnot. Well, not scientific, but I guess you could say a little bit sci-fi, maybe. It does have some history to it, which, like, one of my favorite songs, Roman Sky, which is about Giordano Bruno, who is one of the ones who thought back then in a controversial way that the sun is the center of the solar system, and he got brutally executed for it. But it's definitely a great album in its own right. Next band, System of a Down, Toxicity. We all know how great of an album this is. Songs like the eponymous Toxicity, Aerials, Chop Suey, good stuff. And then the only other album I have from them is Hypnotize, which has Luke Snyder's favorite song, eponymously named Hypnotize. It's got some other stuff like Vicinity of Obscenity, which I think is in there. Next band, Metallica's Ride the Lightning. One of their best works. I definitely like Fight Fire with Fire, Ride the Lightning, for the Bell Toys, and of course, Fade to Black. After that, there's Master of Puppets, another great work. I haven't gotten to fully listen to it yet, but I've definitely heard songs on there. It's great. Orion, I definitely like. And then there's Injustice for All, a great album that I definitely like. And then there's the Black Album, which gets criticized by people, yet it's just another work of art. And, the only other album from Metallica I have is the Hardwired album, which is definitely my favorite Metallica album so far. Moving on to the next band, there's Paramore, which I have All We Know Is Falling. Great album for those of us who were emos that listened to the Scene days, which I'm not fully emo. Which All We Know Is Falling, great album. Riot, another great album with songs like Crush, 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 Misery Business. Then there's Brand New Eyes, which has my favorite song by them, known as Playing God. And it's also a work of art by Paramore. And those are the only albums I have from them. I do have an EP, which, bit of a disclaimer, like, not really a disclaimer, but my ex-girlfriend got me a little bit hooked on K-pop, so now I have an EP, which in Korea is known as a mini album from the group Twice, when it was their recent EP known as Guess or Yes, which is pretty good. I mean, of course, it's not for everyone, but the only reason why I listen to it is because I like to expand what I like to listen to sometimes, but definitely some good stuff. Now, don't go coming after me just making fun of me for that, because everyone has their musical tastes, and you just gotta respect that. Moving on, My Chemical Romance is 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge. Definitely has some good music in there. I really like Helena, I'm Not Okay, Give 'Em Hell Kid, Ghost View. Yeah. I hope that's the name, at least. And the only other album I have from MCR is, of course, The Black Parade, which I'm not going to say it's my favorite MCR album, because pretty much everyone says that, because that's really the album that everyone knows My Chemical Romance by. Moving on, there's Crossfade's eponymous, self-titled debut, which everyone knows the songs Cold in Colors from the album. Pretty good stuff. They're not the best rock band, but they've got some good stuff. I've yet to listen to the other album I have from them, known as Falling Away, so hopefully that's another good listen. Next band, Hailstorm. Their self-titled debut album got some good stuff, like I Get Off or It's Not You. Familiar Taste of Poison. Good stuff. The Strange Case of Hailstorm. That's also got some good stuff. That's really where they broke out. Got a bit famous. Into the Wildlife is definitely my favorite album from Hailstorm. Got some very good stuff in there. And then there's Vicious, which I'm not too big of a fan of. Because I really thought Hailstorm was at their most mature with Into the Wildlife. But then Vicious is where Lizzie kind of got too much into the idea of what rock and roll stereotypically is, which is like sex and drugs, rock and roll. And some things got too sexual. Like, that's what a lot of the songs are focused on. I don't necessarily like that. Vicious is okay. Definitely not the best Hailstorm album. I will say that. Next band is Skillet. I have their album Comatose, which it's alright. Definitely an alright album. Not the best, in my opinion. Then there's Awake, which was pretty good. It was a pretty good listen. Even though sometimes whenever I try to listen to a Skillet album, it can get a little bit tiring. I mean, I think that's because of the bands that I have less interest in and others. I'm just waiting for the CD to end. And of course, there's my favorite Skillet album, Rise, which it's got some very good stuff on it. Like, I really love Not Gonna Die. American Noise, definitely. And then there's their currently criticized album, Unleashed, which it has some good stuff into it. I haven't fully listened to it yet, but got some good stuff. A little too poppy, in my opinion, but you know what? Skillet's not for everyone. I mean, these bands I collect, not for everyone. Moving on, I have Blink-182's Enema of the State. Definitely some good stuff. It's got some great music to it. I definitely love What's My Age Again. Next band, Stone Temple Pilots' debut album, Core, which has some great songs like Creep and Plush that I really love. Then there's Tiny Music, which I can't remember which placement it was on their list of album releases chronologically, but I haven't listened to all of it, but not completely a fan. I still have to listen to all of it. I only listened to like the first track or so. Next band, The Offspring. And of course, I have their most famous album, Smash, which definitely has some great stuff to it. I've always loved the song Self-Esteem. That's my top favorite Offspring song, followed by Come Out and Play. Some good stuff. I have Conspiracy of One, which definitely has some great stuff to it. It even has a song on it was part of the soundtrack of one of my top favorite movies, also known as The New Guy. And I can't remember which song it was, but definitely some great stuff. And I will put this out there, like, not all of the bands I get, I'm not going to have the greatest hits albums all the time. It's just in the early days of my CD collection, I had a couple greatest hits CDs, because that's before I started formulating rules to what I should and should not get for the collection. But the greatest hits, it's got everyone's beloved Offspring songs. Next band, Stone Sour's self-titled debut album, which I haven't gotten to fully listen to it, but there are some tracks on it that I like Bother. The only other album I have from them is Audio Secrecy, which, great album. I love it. Say You'll Haunt Me, Hesitate, Digital, Digital. Definitely some good stuff. And of course, like, this is where I'm getting into the part where, like, I don't have as many albums per band, so I'm going to keep saying next band. I have Disturbed's Immortalized album, which I technically stole off my brother, and he can't say shit. And I haven't fully listened to it, and I was listening to it back in the days when I wasn't really big into metal or anything. But of course we all know The Sound of Silence. Pretty good rendition. But I do have their song, not their song, but I also have their album, Evolution. Great stuff. I love it. Now people are criticizing it because of the direction they took on it, but I definitely love it. Work of art. Then there's Breaking Benjamin's Dark Before Dawn. Great album. I really did like it. But I think my favorite album from them by far is Ember. It has a bit of a darker take, but I'm kind of a fan of the dark stuff. And it's just a really well crafted album. I love it. Now we're getting into classic rock territory with my favorite classic rock band, other than the Beatles, Led Zeppelin. There's Led Zeppelin 1, Led Zeppelin 3, and Led Zeppelin 4 that I have. I've yet to get Led Zeppelin 2, which Led Zeppelin 1 is probably my favorite Led Zeppelin album if you're talking about the album, like in a matter of songs. I mean, Led Zeppelin 4 has got some great stuff like Black Dog, Rock and Roll, and When the Levee Breaks. Those are the songs that I really love off the album, but Led Zeppelin 1 is probably my favorite. Led Zeppelin 3, of course, there's a song we all love known as Immigrant Song. Now you just can't stop thinking about Thor Ragnarok. I also have their album Houses of Holy. Not their best work, I gotta say. It kind of has some forgettable songs to it, we'll be honest. And of course there's, well, I gotta stop saying of course. I also have the album Stuck by Adelius Sway, which, it's okay. It's decent, it's okay. And I mainly got the album because it was the only one I could find at the CD store I was at the time. And I got it after I had seen Adelius Sway in concert back in September of last year. I have Evanescence debut album Fallen, which, pretty good. Of course, it goes along with our angsty days. I've yet to listen to the self-titled album, which I do like their song What You Want, which is off of it. Just gotta wait until I listen to it. Seether's Karma and Effect. I haven't gotten to listen to all of it, but I think Remedy is on there, and Remedy is a great Seether album. Holding On to Strings, Better Left to Fray by Seether. That's got some good stuff to it. I definitely did like a country song. Some other stuff, but I just can't remember the names right off the bat. But definitely a good album from them. Stain's Dysfunction. The only album I can name right off the bat that was on there was Mud Shovel, but other than that, there's not much I can remember. Stain's Break the Cycle definitely got some good stuff in there, like It's Been a While. And then finally from Stained was 14 Shades of Grey with songs like Zoe, Jane. Definitely a great album, I will say that. Nirvana's Bleach, which it's got some good stuff. I mean, I mainly remember About a Girl. Good song. Their Nirvana's most famous album, Nirvana, which has Come As You Are, Lithium, In Bloom. Definitely some good stuff. And then there's In Utero by Nirvana, which got some okay stuff. I mainly like Heart Shaped Box. Definitely some good stuff. One of my newer albums that I got recently was the self-titled debut album of 3 Days Grace, but I do know there's songs on there that I definitely like Just Like You, I Hate Everything About You. I have their album 1X, which that's got some great stuff to it. Definitely does. And of course, it definitely does hit us during the times we were emos. And then finally from them, I have Outsider. Not a great album in my opinion. Not the best. I think they could do better, but I'm just not a fan of Matt Walst in 3 Days Grace. In my opinion, I think 3 Days Grace was best whenever there was still Adam Gontier. It's something about Matt Walst's voice that doesn't really fit in with 3 Days Grace. It would fit in with him if it wasn't 3 Days Grace. I will say that. And John is going to kill me for saying that, but it's not really fitting well. It's got some good songs on that album, but not the best, in my opinion. Moving on is the double EP from The Fires by Greta Van Fleet. Got some good songs, but I would have gotten a new album, Anthem of the Peaceful Army, but that's whenever they blew up on the mainstream and started getting widely popular, and now I just don't like them anymore because it really got to their heads and whatnot, in my opinion. So, that's like the only Greta Van Fleet thing I'm going to have. Because everyone won't shut up about them, and it's annoying me. Next up, my first and only Slipknot album, The Great Chapter, which people criticize it, But I love it. I do love it. Got some great stuff like Devil and I, Kill Pop, XIX, If Rain Is What You Want, AOV, Sarcastrophe. Good stuff. Imagine Dragons, Night Visions. We all know how good that album is, so I don't need to go any further. Smoke and Mirrors, the only other album I have from Imagine Dragons, because I'm not going on to the other albums that they have, because they went too poppy at the start of Evolve. But Smoke and Mirrors got some good stuff. Imagine Dragons, not all their songs are great in my opinion, but there's some good stuff. I have an album from the woman I believe is the best female singer in the world, Enya. Because I was introduced to Enya as a child by my father, and she's a Celtic singer. I love her. She's got some great stuff. It's just great. And the album I have from her is A Day Without Rain. Definitely a great album. I remember getting it for one of my birthdays as a kid. Good stuff. I still have to get all of the other albums to factor into my collection. It's definitely good stuff. I have the Oh Brother Where Art Thou soundtrack, the only soundtrack I have, because Oh Brother Where Art Thou is my top favorite movie of all time. It's just the best movie ever. But we're not talking about movies, we're talking about CDs. Now, as a kid, me and my family, we had many Beatles CDs, but then they either got damaged and had to get thrown away, or my brother stole my damn CDs, and that's why I stole Immortalized from him. A little bit of revenge. But I have to start up my own collection. This is whenever I have like enough money or I'm at the right place to get CDs, but the only Beatles CD I have in my own collection, not in a collection that's owned by my own father or son. But Rubber Soul, definitely a great album. Of course, there's a couple songs that you can't exactly like, but it's got some good stuff, I will say that. And then finally, top it off, this 95 album list, When Legends Rise by Godsmack. Definitely a great album. I loved it. Because I listened to it, I'm like, holy shit, this is good. So, definitely some good stuff. I haven't gotten to listen to 100% of my collection, but I've gotten to listen to most of it. It's definitely got some good stuff in there. I'm still collecting CDs, and I don't know what I'm going to make number 100, but maybe CD number 100 will be the new Slipknot album that's releasing later this year. I don't know. Might be well before that, whenever it comes to getting number 100, but sure. It's not a big collection, but it's big for me, and it's all about the enthusiasm of music that you really gotta love. And I'm always going to love music. I'm always going to collect CDs, because to me, CDs are better than digital music. Because here's the thing. With CD, just can't go wrong. You can listen to everything, appreciate it, put it in a car. Of course, you can hook up your phone to a car or something like that. But here's the thing. Sometimes digital stuff can easily get lost. It can get wiped off. Or anything. What if your phone dies and you're trying to listen to music as you drive? That's why you get a CD. It's all around music appreciation and whatnot. But, yeah. That's the Pity 95. Thanks for listening to this episode of Dash's Ireland, a 10th episode special. See you again for more episodes. And, yeah, this has been Dash's Call. If you like this video, give it a like, subscribe to our channel. We'll see you next time.